All right, so we've talked a lot about how to get started, what platform to use, and the ad. But now we actually have to get into the business manager. Meta Business Manager is basically what houses everything inside of Meta that allows you to run ads. So you're basically gonna have a business manager that holds your ad accounts, your Facebook profiles, your Instagram profiles, your pixels, which we'll talk about in this module as well, all of the different assets that you're gonna use to actually run your ads. And so this business manager is essential. The first step is actually setting up a business manager, and I'll put a help doc on how to do that. You can only make one, basically, for most people, and I've already made mine, so I cannot go through the process of making another one with you, but I do have a pretty clean business manager where we'll actually look at how it's all structured. I'll walk you through that really quick, and then how to create your first ad account, how to create your pixel, and how to get everything linked up. So this is kind of the main screen that you're gonna get to after you create your business account. You can see this is an AdClass business account here. Up here, you're gonna see kind of some collapsible panes. So you're gonna see users, accounts, data sources, brand safety, integrations, billing and payments, requests, and then a bunch of other fun stuff down here. So first things first, after you set up your business account, I would highly recommend that you go down into here and you click on business settings. And this is gonna take you to a new screen where you're actually gonna see some just different settings. They're basically all the same, but it's slightly different. And the reason why you wanna come here is that you're gonna go down into business info. And we haven't done it in this business manager because I actually have two for AdClass. This is just a test one that we're running so that we can do things like this and show you guys non-proprietary data for clients. This account I haven't verified, but I would highly recommend going through here and editing your business details to match with your real business details. So whatever you've actually filed with the state, and get this verified. And the reason for that is that once it's verified, you have a much better likelihood of not getting ads disapproved. You have a much better likelihood of also not having spend limits on your ad accounts. So what ends up happening is that Facebook will cap your spend early on, which gets a little frustrating because you might want to spend more than $50 a day, but it won't let you because the business isn't verified. So I would highly recommend coming in here, very first thing, and getting your business verified with your actual statements. It's going to ask you for like founding documents, stuff like that. That's all good. I'll throw this in here and get verified. All right, so then to continue the overview here, basically, I'm just gonna run through some of these panels that are pretty important. So first off, under your people panel, this is where you're gonna actually add anybody that you want to be able to run ads and have access to your account. The access is listed here, and you basically can see that some people have full control, meaning basically that they're admins on your account. They're able to add people, remove people, change pretty much anything. And then other people have basic access. If you have basic access, you're basically, you can change that access. You can give them access to certain things and not other things. So for the primary user, you're probably gonna want to have users with basic access and then yourself with full control. And that's gonna be the best way to do it. From here, you can actually add people to assets and things as well. But I'm gonna actually go down to this next panel, which is the most important for you, which is gonna be accounts. So accounts is where you're actually gonna add your Facebook pages. So you can see our pages added here. If you don't have a Facebook page yet, you can actually create one through here. You can create a new page. If you do have a page, you're gonna wanna link it here. And so if you've created one and you don't have a business manager, it's probably owned by another business manager and you'll have to request access for it. And so you have to kind of go through and type in the page ID or the page name and get access to it. Otherwise, you might be able to just add a page from the URL as well. So try it this way. Main thing is you want this page to be added here so that you can run ads from it. Once it's added, you can add all the people that are relevant to it. The ad account is a very similar thing. So if you don't have an ad account yet, you're gonna do a very simple process. You're gonna go right here and click add, and we'll go ahead and do that now. So your ad account, so add is gonna be if there's an existing one. Instead of add, what you're gonna do is create a new account. So you can do here, we can just call this AdClass 2, since I already have AdClass 1 there. For the time zone, I'll just keep it as Phoenix time, and then here, US dollars. I'll click next, and then this ad account will be used for my business, and then I'll push create. And there you have it. So I have the ad account, and now I can add people to it. So I'm gonna just add my whole team to it, give them access to manage the campaigns. Actually, I'm gonna do this in 2 steps. I'm gonna give me and Caleb, my founding partner, access to manage the ad accounts. I'll do that first. I don't wanna add payment info yet, and then I will add everybody else and give them manage campaign access. There you go. There you go. So I now have an ad account. Now, if I wanted to access this ad account, all I would do is click right here, which says Open in Ads Manager. This is the top right. Click that button, and it's going to open my ad account. So This here is the ad account. We'll run through what this actually looks like in a little bit. I'm gonna go back to business settings and keep running through here. So asset groups, you shouldn't have to worry about too much. Apps as well, you shouldn't have to worry about. Instagram is the next big thing. So for Instagram, you're actually gonna add an account, and then when you push connect, it's gonna pop up another window where you just log into your Instagram account. So it's quite simple. Once you do that, you should be able to link it right here. Same way you can add users to a Facebook page or an ad account, you can add them to your Instagram account right here. So that's good to go. That is how you create an ad account and a page and an Instagram account and link them to your business manager. Once they're all linked, you'll actually be able to run ads using all of those assets. So super awesome. All right, so the next thing that we really want to make sure we know about here in the business settings is pixels. And pixels actually has moved recently. They still show it here under pixels, but then over here it will tell us that there's a new location. So now they're actually under data sources. Okay, so what we want to do is go to data sets, and then we'll see the pixel here. So this is pixel. Basically a pixel, what it does is it's some code that goes on your website, and it allows you to track what users do after they leave Facebook and go on your website. The Pixel recently has changed quite a bit, and the reason for that is that certain phones like iOS, Apple phones, for example, are starting to make privacy more of a priority. And so there is some Pixel changes that have happened recently, but by and large, the Pixel is still the best way to track for people who are just getting started with ads. People might talk about conversion API. You might hear that thrown around, and it is something that's really useful, but it's something I would consider a lot more advanced than what's needed to get off the ground with ads. I would say start with the pixel, which is what we'll run through here. And then from there, you can go on to conversions API if it makes sense to. All right, so to create the pixel, it's actually a pretty new process. I accidentally just created this one in one click. So all you have to do is click add and then name it and push create, and it's gonna get created. That's here. No longer is the same process as it used to be with the pixel, but it does create it here. Once it's created, you do wanna still add people to it. So whoever you want to have access to the data set, you'll add them like this. Same way. Once they're added, they should have permission to use that for ads. So make sure your own self is added to this as well. Once you made it, you actually go up here into Events Manager. It says Open in Events Manager, this button on the top right, and you click that. This is going to take you to Events Manager, and this is where you're actually going to be able to manage your pixel and create your pixel. So here you can see the data sources over here. I already have pixels created, and you can kind of see the website traffic coming and going through this pixel, for example. It functions similar to like Google Analytics or, other tracking softwares that you might have seen in the past. And it just basically tracks what people are doing on your website. So for the pixel, you really are just looking to track certain events on your website so that the ads know what's working and what's not. So this is the new data set that we just created, AdClass 1. And for this, I just mentioned that we're not going to start with Conversions API. Instead, we're going to gather website events from browser activity. So you're going to click set up the meta pixel. Here, you're going to want to install code manually. So I'm going to click this button. This is going to take me to a place where I can copy the code and actually paste it into my website. So depending on what you're building your funnel through, this is going to vary on how you install this code. So if you built the funnel yourself, then you might know about the header of your website, and that is what you're going to actually use to paste this pixel code. If you have ClickFunnels, there's a really easy way to put it in there. If you have lead pages, it's easy. Unbounce, Convertry, Go High Level, whatever funnel builder you use, you'll find an easy place to copy and paste header code, and that is where this pixel code is going to go. So you're going to copy it from here, and you're going to paste it into the header of every page of your website. Now, once you have it pasted in there, the pixel will show up on that website and you'll be able to track what's going on. For example, if I go to go.adclass.com, it'll take me to this page. I can actually see that my Facebook pixel is on this page by using a browser extension, or I could copy the URL and I could go back into my events manager and I could go to my pixel and I could actually test and make sure that it's firing. So I can click on this test events button once I have it set up. And then I can say, confirm your website's events are firing. And I can actually paste that URL here, go to that page, and then here you go. I go back to my tab and it says there's a page view was processed. And that's one way that you can test that your pixel is actually on your website. There's another extension called the Facebook Pixel Helper, which I would recommend you download. Oh, look, it's now called the Meta Pixel Helper. And this is something that you can download and actually use as a browser extension to Chrome to tell you if there's a pixel on your website or not. I would never run traffic without having the pixel on your website. So first and foremost, let that be known. You definitely want to do this step. Don't skip over this one. You want to make sure there is a pixel on your website. All right, so in this quick section, we're actually going to talk about not only how to add the pixel to your website, but which events to create and fire on your website or funnel in order to best train the Facebook pixel on how to find the right people for your ads. So this is a little bit more advanced. I'm just going to preface with that. I'm going to move a little bit quickly, but there's a lot of resources out there. If you get stuck anywhere on any of this, you can obviously reach out to me and ask me, or there's a lot of resources. A lot of people have been through this before. So I will say we're going to kind of go a little nitty gritty here, but I'll try to keep it quite simple and quick. So first and foremost, you can think of the pixel basically as something that sees all of the activity on your website, but does not assign any value to it itself. So you have to actually talk to the pixel and tell it what is valuable and what's not. As an example, someone landing on your landing page is not quite as valuable as somebody landing on the thank you for booking a call page. Because if they land on the thank you for booking a call page, what did they do? They booked a call. So we want Facebook to know that. We want them to know that they scheduled a call with you if they landed on that page. We want it to assign a certain value to that person differently from the person that just lands on the landing page. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here. So I pulled up this page here because I want you to see that all of these events that happen in our AdClass funnel are pretty much the standard events that we would recommend you to have in your funnel as well if it's a VSL book a call funnel. So page view is always going to fire everywhere. Just that's what happens when you install the pixel. It's always going to fire, so that's great. View content is one that we fire, as well as completed registration, schedule. Those are the three main ones. So I'm actually going to show you this VSL funnel framework one more time because I'm going to talk through where to actually fire these events. So if someone lands on your landing page, that really doesn't mean much besides they clicked an ad. So we're not going to fire an event here on the landing page. However, when they get to the VSL page, we know that they did an action on the landing page that got them to the VSL page. There shouldn't be any other way to get there. Typically speaking, we ask them for their email or their phone number or both or their name, right? We're asking for some piece of information. What we call that is an opt-in or a lead or a completed registration. So on the VSL page, if that page loads, we know the user completed a registration or became a lead with our business. So that's the first event that we're actually going to fire. So you might be asking yourself, what is a completed registration? There's a page here called Standard Events for Metapixel, and this is really where all of the events live that you can possibly use or add to your pixel. So I'm actually going to go down. There's really two options for lead. You can either use completed registration, which is a submission of information by a customer in exchange for something from your business. So that fits. Or you can use lead, submission of information by a customer with the understanding they may be contacted at a later date by your business, right? So you can use either one of these. They both work. I typically use completed registration just because I've seen it work well. What you're actually going to do if you're ready to set this up in your funnel is you're going to copy this little bit of code right here, okay? Now, we've already added the pixel to our funnel, but if you haven't, I'm going to revisit how to do that, and I'm just going to leave this tab open. So I'm going to actually go into Go High Level, which is where I've built out our funnel. I can view the funnel here. This is going to be actually a slight variation of a book a call funnel. So actually, I'm not asking for opt-in. I'm just going to have a button that pops up and takes them to a booking page. However, in order to add an event, I'm going to just pretend that this page here is the VSL page and that they already opted in. I'm going to show you how to add an event to this page. So I'm actually going to go in and edit the page. In ClickFunnels and in Go High Level, it's pretty simple. You actually go into settings right here, which is just on the top left. You go into tracking code. You can paste your code right here. Now, it's not enough to just paste this piece. You do have to add one little thing. And after you add this, you're going to feel like a programmer. It's going to be great. All you have to do is add in a caret, the word script, and another caret. And then down here, you're going to do a caret, a forward slash, and the word script, and another caret. And it's going to light up and be all colored. Submit these changes. When someone lands on this page, they're actually going to get the event completed registration now. Currently, they don't, but they will if this happens. Now, this is only true if the pixel is already added to your website. If you haven't yet added the pixel, you also still need to do that because this is just a snippet that fires after the pixel fires. So if I go actually back to the funnel settings, so I can go to the publishing panel. Actually, sorry, it's slightly different here in Go High Level. Bear with me. Here it is, settings. I can actually load right here my head tracking code, and I can see that Google Tag Manager is firing here, which is what I use to fire my Facebook pixel. But what you could do if you didn't want to use that is you could just go right into the pixel, just like we did before, set up Metapixel, install code manually, copy that code right here, go back into here and just paste the code right here. Now I know that this is gonna fire on every page in this funnel, because as it says right here, it's funnel-wide tracking code for the header. Basically let the base pixel code fire on every page. The only event that's gonna fire is page view, and so that's why we add the snippet on top of that, right? So if you haven't yet added the pixel, make sure you do that first, like we showed in the last video. But step 2 is gonna be to add the snippet. So I've added that first snippet. Now, if the person makes it to the next page in the funnel, basically they get to a booking page. This booking page is actually gonna take them to a place like this. And I know that if they view this page, they have made it past my VSL. So in this case, I call that a content view. Content view is just some way for me to mark that they viewed some content that I care about them viewing. On this page here, you can actually see view content is a Facebook event. It means a visit to a web page that I care about. For example, a product or a landing page. So this is a schedule page. I care a lot about the schedule page. I wanna know when people make it there. So I would copy this little snippet of code here. I would go back into my page. I would edit the page. I would find the header of this page. It's gonna be different for whatever landing page software you use. But here, I'm gonna actually click tracking up here. There you go. You can already see we're actually firing completed registration here. But in this example, what I would fire is script, PQ track, script. And as you can see, this one's TTQ. This is TikTok. So you can disregard that one because I'm using Google Tag Manager to fire this one. But this is what you would do. Very simple. You add that in, and then when you load this page, view content is gonna fire on this page. So now Facebook knows if someone makes it to this page, they have viewed content. So later on, when we're looking at our data in the Facebook ads library or the ads manager, we can actually see a certain campaign to another campaign, how many people made it to the view content stage, and what am I paying for someone to make it to that page? This is very essential. Lastly, we'll do this one more time just so you guys get the hang of it. The last event here that we'll want to fire is going to be on the next page in the funnel, which is the thank you for booking page, the success page. If you go to, it's actually in a different funnel here. Let's see, VSL. It might actually be hosted in a different platform for me, but I'll just do a test booking really quick so you guys can see. This is like the marketing form questions that we were talking about earlier that would either introduce friction to your funnel or not. Once you schedule this page, it should take to a success page. And on this success page is where we definitely want to fire the most important event, which is schedule. For book call funnels, this event is critical. It is the schedule event. So what we're gonna do is actually go back into Events Manager. I'm gonna show you really quick how this looks. So from a pixel that has it firing, this is the schedule event right here. You can see anytime someone schedules a call, this counts a conversion. What you want to do is follow those same steps that we took before, except for this time you're going to go in here and find the schedule event. So the booking of an appointment to visit one of your locations. Obviously it's not quite the same for a sales call, but it does work quite well. And this is going to be the code that you add to your success page. So once again, this is how you actually add events that matter on these pages. And it's going to really allow the Facebook pixel to have the right data to understand what's working and what's not. So to give you a quick example of what that looks like, and then we'll end this module, when I actually go into an ad account that has this added, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So we'll pull up the AdClass account here. We're not currently running traffic out of this account, but we did in the past. So I'm gonna pull some columns. So here you go. So I can actually see now, over here on the right, I'll zoom in so you guys can see this as well. I can actually see content views per each ad and per each campaign, and I can see appointments scheduled per each campaign. You can see like this campaign, for example, scheduled 16 appointments at $155 a piece. Facebook would not know this if I did not add the event that I just showed you how to add. So it's essential that you do that first. So I'm gonna end this little module here. That was how to add a pixel to your funnel and make sure that your events are gonna be tracking when we actually go and create ads. All right, so we have talked a lot about how to get everything set up, how to get the pixel installed. The next big step is gonna be figuring out what audiences we need to create in the Meta Business Manager that we'll actually use to run our ads to here very shortly. You can think of audiences as basically pools of people that you're going to either target or use to create audiences that you'll target or even exclude from your ads. Audiences can actually be added straight into the audience manager inside of Meta, which is what we're gonna jump into in a second. There are some shortcuts to audiences that typically convert well on Meta. So that's what we're gonna run through here first. And then I'm gonna show you how to actually create those audiences inside of Meta ads. Easy audiences that convert, okay? First off, what you really wanna look at are the following to start with. 1% lookalike audiences based on high intent people, high intent groups that you own, right? So think of it this way. A 1% lookalike is something you can create in Facebook or in Meta, and it's basically finding 1% of the people in a target location that are most like the source audience that you give it. A good example would be your customers, right? So you can actually feed Meta a list of all of your customers. Usually it's about 500 or more. Sometimes it'll let you create one with 100, 200, it's worth a try. As long as you have a good group of customers, you can actually create a 1% lookalike of those customers in, for example, the United States. What Meta literally does is it goes and sees how many people are there in the United States using Meta, right? So it's about 200 and some odd million people, I think 240 million. And it will actually create a 1% lookalike of those people that are most like your purchasers. So this is a huge tool. This is something that you definitely need to test on Meta ads. And honestly, it's where we start in almost all of our ad accounts is 1% lookalikes of high intent audiences, specifically customers if you have it. So that's gonna be an audience of about 2.4 million people just from that 1% lookalike. If you don't have that many customers, which I understand, it's hard to get there, then go to the next best thing. What is the next best high intent thing that someone has done in your funnel? So for a lot of people, it's leads who have gone on to book a call. Somebody that has booked a call has showed high intent in your funnel, gonna be the next best thing to a purchase. So you can make a 1% lookalike of booked calls, for example. You just export that list, import it into Facebook audiences, and make a 1% lookalike of it. The next one, if you don't have any booked calls, is just all of your emails, right? Do you own a list of emails for your offer? Put that in here, make a 1% lookalike of those. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ways you can make a lookalike that all convert decently well. The goal here is to test the most high intent ones so that you have something that is most like people that you're actually going for. That is the first piece, is 1% lookalikes of high intent audiences. Let's start there. We're actually gonna run into the ads library or the ads manager here. So if you don't know how to get to the ads manager, you can actually go from business settings and you can click on these 3 lines here, the hamburger menu. And here's where you're gonna get all of the different tools inside of the business manager. So these tools can get a little bit overwhelming. The ones that we're gonna look at today are ads manager. We already looked at events manager a little bit in the last video, and audiences. So audiences is where we definitely wanna go right now. So you can get to ads manager from here, which is where I'm at here. You can also just click straight on audiences and get to our audience manager. It's showing me now the audiences for my second AdClass account. So there's no audiences in here. If I went into my first AdClass account, the one that I've already run some traffic from, it's gonna show me all of my audiences here, right? And so these are all uploaded into this audience manager. But for the sake of example, I'll show you kind of what it looks like to upload a new audience and make a lookalike from it. So let's do that here in the next section. All right, so my first step here is gonna be to actually export a list. So I'll actually go into my active campaign here. I'm gonna just select a contact list. You can select whichever contacts you want. I'm gonna push export and just give it a name. And I'm gonna just export default fields here. Let's see. Tags, lists, custom fields, scores. Okay, this will be fine. Select fields to export. This should work here. Can download it here. Sure that we have what we need. Yeah, okay. So we have email, first and last name. So I'm gonna go into audiences here. And I'm just gonna upload this export that I just did. So when you click into create audience, the very first step is gonna be to upload your customer list, right? Or if it's not it doesn't have to be customers, right? It could just be leads, whatever it is. But I'm gonna select this. We have all these other options that we'll talk about in a second, but right now we're looking at customer list. This is gonna basically tell you how to format your list. For the most part, any CRM that exports is gonna have a pretty good format. You really just wanna include email, first, last name, and then any other information you might have. So phone number is helpful, obviously more identifiers that you have, the better, but email, first and last name really are going to be the primary ones that will help Facebook match it to real people. When you push next, it's going to ask, do you have a customer value? If these are actual purchasers and you have a field that you're exporting with like a dollar amount that they paid you, you can push yes here and you can actually map it out as well. I don't have that for this one, so I'm going to push no. Then I'm going to actually upload the file that I just downloaded, which is here, AdClass export, and then I'm just going to name it AdClass export. That's fine. I'll click next, and then this is where I'm actually going to map my field. So it's already done 2 of them for me. It looks like it found email and mapped it as email, so that's great. Found phone number and mapped it as phone number. And then under action needed, there's a few that it didn't map. So ID we definitely don't need because that's just arbitrary for ActiveCampaign. First name we'll map. Last name we'll map. We don't need date created. We don't need IP address, right? All of these ones here are empty rows, so we don't need any of these as well. So that's it. Now I'm gonna go back to map. You can see the ones that are mapped: email, first name, last name, phone number. I'm gonna push import, and it's gonna upload the list. There you go. So it uploaded the list. 2,397 contacts were uploaded. If I push done, I'm gonna see that right here. It'll say that it's populating for a little bit. It just means that it's finding people on Facebook and matching them to your list. That's a good thing. And the next piece that we want to do is create a lookalike from this list. So the easiest way to do that is just to click up here and go lookalike audience, and then select the list that we just uploaded as the source. So right here, if I just type in AdClass export, I can find it here. Here's a custom audience, AdClass export. And the biggest thing here that really does matter is that your lookalike is based on a location. So, for the most part, you're going to be United States. The main thing here is that you have to have people in that location to create a lookalike in that location. So if all my customers or all my leads were in Canada and I was trying to make a United States lookalike, it would not work, right? I was saying earlier that 1% lookalike is going to be the way to go. You can make as many segments as you want and test them separately, but we have found through a lot of testing that the 0 to 1% lookalike is obviously the highest intent. It's the people most similar to your source, right? The bigger you get here, the broader that audience gets and the least like your source it becomes. Push create audience. There you go. We have our 1% lookalike, the list that I uploaded. The next thing I want to talk about inside the audience manager that is extremely essential to your ad performance is actually going to be creating audiences based on the pixel events that we added into our funnel in the last module. So what we can actually do is create an audience here, and we can actually create them based on our website, which basically means that it's going to be based on the meta pixel that we added to our website. So if I do that, and I click next, it's going to ask me which pixel I want to use. So I select the pixel that has data flowing to it, which has the green emblem next to it. And then I can actually start to create audiences or groups of people based on an action that they did on that pixel. So for example, I can have all of my website visitors that hit that pixel in the last 30 days added into an audience. This might be helpful because you might want to retarget those people and show them an ad, for example. You also might want to exclude them from certain ads. And if you wanted to get more specific with it, instead of all website visitors, you can filter this down by URL, and you can also filter this down by event. So we added the schedule event, for example, on our page. I might want to exclude anybody who has scheduled a call from my ads. So what I could do here is I could actually change this to 180 days. As long as the pixel was on my website for the last 180 days, it's going to collect everybody who booked a call on my website as seen by the pixel in the last 180 days. I can exclude all of these people from my ads so that I'm not hitting the same people in the future. But what's even cooler about this is I can create this lookalike, or I can create this event for people who have scheduled a call with me, and then I can create a lookalike based on this event. I'll show you exactly what that means. So I could say schedules last 180, and that basically to me means that these are people who booked a call in the last 180 days. And then now that I have that audience, it's going to populate with groups of people, but I can actually create a lookalike audience based on that. These are other lookalikes that you could easily test if you don't have customer lists, for example. So this is going to be schedules, last 180. Looks like I have that event in there twice, but that's fine. And I'm going to do it in the United States and create a lookalike. And what that does is now I have a dynamically updating lookalike It's finding me 1% of the United States that are most like people who have booked a call with me in the last 180 days. So you can see how your creativity is kind of the only limiting factor for how great these audiences can be over time. And that's just one example of something you can do with custom audiences, not to mention retargeting and exclusions and all sorts of other fun. But I'm gonna end it there on Audience Manager and what you can do inside the Audience Manager. And next we'll move into interest-based targeting. All right, so in addition to lookalike audiences, another huge audience targeting strategy that we're definitely gonna want to use when we go to cold traffic on Facebook ads and Instagram ads are interests. So interests are groups of preset people based on how they interact within Meta and Instagram and all of the platforms. And Meta basically makes these categories based on how people interact. Now, in the past, interests have been something that we can definitely use to our advantage a lot better than we currently can. Interests used to be very highly targetable. They're not quite as highly targetable anymore, but they still do work. So I'm gonna hop over into Ads Manager and show you a really quick exercise on how to find some interests that will work for you. I'm gonna actually go into just a random interest campaign here, and you can kind of see some of the interests that we've targeted in this campaign, right? And so for us, Russell Brunson, he's the guy that created ClickFunnels, very similar to our target market. We have coaching, we have conversion marketing, right? These are three separate interest-based ad sets. If I actually go in and go into the targeting here, which I'm gonna walk through this more in depth in the next section, but for right now, what I wanna show you is that where you add this targeting, there's actually a panel that has suggestions. And this is kind of my best kept secret because the suggestions panel populates based on what you have right here. So each time I add something to this targeting in this ad set, I don't even have to save the changes or anything. It's gonna show me new updated suggestions based on the interest that I have added above. So for example, since I have Russell Brunson here, if I push suggestions, it also thinks Gary Vaynerchuk might be a good target for me. So I'll click Gary Vaynerchuk. Now it's updated the rest of these based on what I have up here. So it's like, oh, well, probably Robert Kiyosaki might be a good one, or Brendan Burchard, or if I click suggestions again, I can come down, Brene Brown might be a good one, right? And all of these, it'll actually tell you the size of the audience over here, and will also tell you like whether it's an interest or a profession, because sometimes it will show you behaviors or professions as well. So like small business owners, right, as an example. So this is a really, really, really good way to find new interests, because it's pretty hard to find the actual group of all of the Facebook interests that are out there. But if you go through this sort of like suggestion strategy, you're actually going to start to find ones that are really high affinity to the ones that you have already tested. I love this strategy, and I think it's one you can do quite a bit of research through. Now, one thing I will say to steer clear of with interests are super huge, broad interests. So there are some in here that are millions and millions and millions of people, like 100 million. That's pretty dang big. You kind of want to steer clear of those. But apart from that, most of these are going to be within the 0 to 10 million range. I think those are probably going to be the best bet to start with because they're pretty high affinity. And that's a quick strategy on how to find interest-based targeting that will convert, have high affinity to your offer. So I'm going to finish out part 3 with that. That was the overview of the business manager, some of the nuts and bolts, getting the events set up, getting the audiences set up. Next, we're gonna actually get into how to set up a tracking spreadsheet framework that will let you see if your ads are actually performing. So super important, and that is gonna be part 4. See you there.